Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to talk about objection handling today. I think this is like the, anybody ever see Star Wars? Some of you may be too young for Star Wars. Kenny, you ever see Star Wars? Ever heard of it?
Heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Sold a few tickets. There was a thing that they, like the Jedis, carry around, and they turn and go. What is that thing called?
Lightsaber.
A lightsaber. Being able to handle objections is like having a real estate lightsaber, because a lightsaber is a pretty cool tool, isn't it, John? I mean, you carry one of those babies, and you can use the force. Then, man, you can really do some things with it. And it's the same with objection handling. The reason a lot of real estate agents don't want to go out and prospect for business, and they don't want to go on listing appointments, and they don't do a lot of things they're supposed to do, is because they might get rejected. Okay, and this is one tool that you can help eliminate some rejection. Is there going to be rejection in real estate sales? Is there going to be rejection in widget sales? In any kind of sales? In the mortgage business, are you ever going to get rejected?
Absolutely.
Sure, you got to deal with that sometimes, but here's a way to help people make some decisions that they probably want to make, then in some cases might foster some rejection if you didn't know what to say. So what is an objection? What is it?
Denial or someone not.
Denial, that's a river in Egypt, isn't it? No, that's denial is maybe part of it. That's somebody denying you where going down the road you want to go down. What else is it?
It's maybe a small disagreement.
Could be a disagreement
Of the contract.
Yeah, could be that.
An indication of fear. Indication
Indication of fear. You know, I like to say it's a question left over in the mind of the potential client. You know, and I guess it's a lot of different things depending upon where they're coming from. But all those answers are right. And so, can you handle every objection?
Yes and no.
Well, you can make an attempt,
You can
but you're not always going to win.
Right.
You know, so you have to understand that going in. But if you don't do anything, I mean, here's the good old-fashioned, like when I got into business, we didn't have any classes or anything like that. You just sort of went after it. You know, it's like, hey, there's the phone and good luck. You know, and you learn the sink or swim method or the trial and error method. They were big back when I got into those. Now we give you like some scoop to get things so you can avoid some of those steps. We try to flatten out that learning curve for you. So the old school way to handle an objection was somebody might say to you like, hey, will you cut your commission? And what was the old school way to handle that?
No.
Sure. What else? We only want to list it for a day with you. Yeah, that's great. We want you to hold an open house every day and put it in the paper, a 3-page spread in the Wall Street Journal. Journal. Is that okay? Sure it is. Okay, that's not great objection. That's one way to handle them, but that's not the best way to handle them. Okay. So, what's a condition? Or how does a condition vary from an objection?
They'll do it, but it depends on a certain aspect of whatever the deal is.
Okay, I'm not sure what that means, but that, I'm sure in your mind, that's a good answer. A condition is something, in this case, a condition is something that you really can't overcome. A condition is a fact where a objection, at least what we're talking about today, is not really, it can be based on some facts, but it's able to be overcome in most cases. Condition might be, you know, in today's world, does everybody have enough money or have enough equity to sell their home in today's world? Unfortunately not. Now, that was not a problem. When I first got into business in 1995, we never really ran into that. Because what had the market all across the United States done in the past 50 years?
Appreciate it.
It's gone like this. So if somebody bought, even a year later, they had more value. And it didn't do that, you know, in 2007, 2008, 2009. We didn't see that. Okay? And even today, some people haven't recovered from that. So a condition might be, well, your house is worth $200,000 and you owe 270, the only way to overcome that condition is for them to come to the table with cash or maybe a short sale or whatever else, but that's a fact. I can be the slickest talking real estate agent going on, and it doesn't really matter, does it? You know, another condition, a drastic example would be, you know, John tells me that he wants to buy a house, and let's say that John has had 17 foreclosures, 300 bank judgments, and he's won in 17 states. Do you think I got, like, wait a minute, I got a guy, Kenny can hook you up with a loan. Is that going to work?
No.
Probably not. So, I mean, those are conditions, okay? So, let's just talk about basic objections and what people, do you see them in other walks of life other than real estate? People object all the time. Give me an example. Outside of real estate, I object. Court?
College
I object.
Any sort of college recruiting.
College recruiting. What would be an objection? What might somebody say in college recruiting?
We were trying to recruit Jess to go play lacrosse, and she said, well, I don't want to go that far away from home. That could be one.
Okay.
Parenting.
Parenting happens all the time.
Yeah. Boy, does it ever.
Yeah. Give me an example of that.
I don't want to go to bed now.
Yeah.
I want to stay up.
Right. How about we do your homework now, and then you could like do what you're going to tell me you want to do over the weekend. No, I'll do it later. You know, you can work through that. Now, kids are the toughest. You know, so if you want to really practice, find some kids because they're tough. They're really oily. They learn at an early age how to work the system. You know, in your example, well, Jess says she don't want to go far from home. I mean, do kids wind up going to colleges far from home? Okay, so there's things that you could come at her with that might help her understand that that isn't that big a deal, but still maybe that's just her thing. So, you know, the whole idea here is we want to be able to have some ammunition. We want to have a lightsaber. Make the noise again. We want to have the lightsaber so that we have an opportunity to take the people where we think they want to go versus to just lay down and give up. Okay? Now, normally in life when you hear an objection, or when most salespeople hear an objection, I'm not talking about slick, great, awesome, powerful salespeople like you. I'm talking about the average salespeople. What do they do when they hear an objection? How do they react when they hear an objection? When they don't get what they want?
Defensive? Defensive.
Okay? So how does that make the objector feel? So if I get defensive to you, that I think I know what you're saying. Okay, you want to then turn and be defensive back to me, right? It changes the mood of the conversation.
It confirms their objection in your mind.
In some ways it does. It does. But yet that's our natural tendency. John says, no, I don't want, what are you talking about? And then says, all right. The next thing you know, we got a confrontation. Have I moved towards solving the problem, or have I even created more problems?
Created more problems.
So would you want to do that as a salesperson? Oh, well, we want to think it over. Are you crazy? You know, maybe that'll work, but I doubt it. You know, when I first got into the business, and you know, my poor wife, you know, like we sometimes get into arguments, believe it or not. And so, like, I'm really good at winning arguments with her, but I rarely get what I want. You know, because at the end, she just can't argue through it, but she just still doesn't like see my side of the story. And that's sort of how I approach the real estate business. I remember going on a for sale by owner appointment, and you know, I convinced the dude to list his house, just not with me. You know, I won, but I lost. You get it? So there's a difference in arguing. We're not talking about objection handling. Really isn't an argument. It is a conversation that we want to try to keep it on a level of respect and empathy. What does empathy mean?
Feeling what they from.
Yeah, getting in their corner. You know, understanding, compassion. You know, relating to what they're going through. Is selling your house or buying a house, could that be, is there some stress involved in that?
Yes.
There is. We got to understand that. You know, we're going to do this. You know, hopefully you guys are going to do this thousands of times in your career, but still for them, it's a big deal. You know, a heart surgeon is giving you open heart surgery. Maybe this is their 500th time. How many times have you done it? Pretty big deal, right? I mean, the scalpel slips and, well, God, John, sorry. No aorta for you. You got about 30 seconds. My bad. So anyway, we don't want to be defensive. We want to be empathetic. And I'm going to give you a little strategy that'll help you when you hear an objection to help you overcome it. And then we're going to talk about some specific objections and practice going through those. So when you first hear an objection, if you know you don't want to be defensive, what do you want to be? What do you want to do when you hear an objection?
Understanding.
You want to be understanding. Okay?
Accepting of it.
Yeah, I like, you know, Jess and I talked about this yesterday. We talked about repeating and affirming. You know, in prospecting, repeating and affirming is an important skill. It makes people feel like you're listening. You know, if I ask you a question and you say, yeah, well, I'm thinking about moving to San Diego. And you go, God, moving to San Diego, that's exciting. What's special about San Diego? At least you know that I'm listening. And maybe I made it sound like I care. Same with objecting. You know, if I say, well, you know, gee, Kenny, this mortgage thing is really confusing. We're going to need to think this over. And Kenny might say, well, yeah, he doesn't want to say, are you crazy? How simple could this be? I do this every day. What kind of idiot are you? Here's what you make. Here's what you qualify for. Come on. That's not going to cut it. He's got to say, hey, this is, I understand. You know, I do this every day, and I mean, it's confusing to me sometimes. You know, what exactly is not clicking with you? Maybe I can help. Is that a little bit better approach? So repeating and affirming and understanding is the first thing you want to do. So you hear that, you want to repeat. Nice pen here. Affirm. Repeat, affirm, and clarify. Why would we want to clarify? To make sure I'm on the same page. You know, you might say, like one that comes up all the time has to do with money, especially when you're selling or working to list somebody's home, because then they're going to have to pay you, and it's a significant amount of money. And it comes over commission. Some people say, well, gosh, I have a problem with the 6% commission or whatever it is. Okay? So what do we automatically assume that means? If I say, John, you know, this commission a little high, what do you automatically assume that they're thinking about?
They want it cut.
Because why?
They want a better deal.
They want to pay less.
They want to negotiate. They want to win.
And you know, and that could be the case, but maybe that's not it. Maybe they're like, you know what, I don't really like commission in general. You know, I think that's not just how I think. I think people should be paid a flat fee, or you know, you just don't know what they're. You want to make sure where you're. So when you handle the objection, you're handling the correct objection. Another classic one we've used it before is we want to think it over. Some people, not me, because I rarely think before I act, but they actually do need to sit down and process things, and they're going to make a flow chart, and they're going to do all this other kind of stuff that, you know, weird people do. Excuse me. But I mean, it's just not my personality, but I have to understand that, right? So that's okay if that's their thing. But what if some people, when they say they want to think it over, what are they really saying?
I don't want to make a decision right now.
Yeah, I don't want to make a decision right now. I don't have enough information to make a decision right now. I don't want to tell you that I don't like you because that would hurt your feeling. You know, there's a lot of things that could be there, so we have to clarify what that means. My wife comes into the store. I mean, my poor wife, here we go again. Okay, I get these things every month in an envelope like that have like Visa and MasterCard on it, and there's a long list of charges on there. But every time that I go shopping with my wife and I watch her go into a store, the salespeople ask her, can I help you find anything? And what does she say?
No.
What does she say?
Yes.
Come on, ladies. I'm just looking. But if she's just looking, why does Visa send me all this stuff? Because she's lying, right? So just looking, well then, you know, if you took that at face value, then that's sort of an objection, right? For the, wherever she goes, the shoe sales, the handbag, wherever, okay? So you have to try to clarify to figure out what's really going on. So you repeat and affirm and clarify. What would you do next? Someone? Anyone?
I know we talked about maybe changing the level of their opinion, like a level shift.
Well, yeah, that's the point. We're going to talk about that in a little while. Okay. So you've repeated, affirmed, you've clarified. Another thing, you want to show some empathy. So that's that word we talked about before. All right. So once you're sure you're on the same page, you're empathetic. You know, it's almost like a visual cue would be like originally you're talking like this, and they're giving you an objection, and that objection is almost a barrier between you and the client. You want to try to come around and be on their side with it. You see that? Then you're able to move forward. But at some point, we have to move forward and try to handle it. So you repeat, you affirm, you've done all sorts of things. If you have to ask some questions to clarify it, that's okay. Then we want to connect it. So down here, we're going to handle the objection. All right, I'm going to show you some things to do with that. But what's here? How do we connect? Oh, John, yeah, I understand, and this, and What do we do to put it together? Like, where's the crazy glue here? Well, commonly, we use a word. It's a one-word deal that we need to be using, and we use one by accident sometimes, or not by accident, just out of habit. So I think John's a great guy. He's come to Hometown Realty. He's taught classes. He's sent out some emails. He's a fabulous guy. But
Is that another doubt drop?
Raises a question.
it's a doubt drop. It raises a question. Not only that, it negates everything I've already said. John's a great guy. He's this, but actually he's a piece of crap. I mean, that's sort of what people would expect to have coming up after that. So just that one little word, the way we use it in our language, and we use it all the time, it negates everything we've said beforehand. What word do we use that's also a conjunction that adds to versus negates? And. So we want to use the word and. So if I'm telling John's a great guy, he's smart, he knows the technology side of this, and John's like, yeah, keep coming, bring it on. Versus but, that's when he'll, you understand the difference? It's difficult to do and it's not natural. Yesterday Jess and I were talking about, scripts, and sometimes it's not natural. The scripts are not natural for you, are they? They're not, because you didn't write it. I mean, do you think, we'll go back to, to Star Wars, do you think, maybe not the greatest acting in the world, but I mean, do you think, who played Darth Vader? James Earl Jones, his voice. I mean, do you think all those words were really his? You think in real life he's like, I am not your father. Do you think that's how he really talks? But he sounds pretty darn convincing in the film. I mean, in fact, if I ever hear James Earl Jones speak, I think, that's Darth Vader. I don't even know, like if he was just him, I'd be like, come on, let's be Darth Vader. Okay, and that's the trademark of a good actor, and a good salesperson can say these words that have the correct meaning and make them sound natural, even if they don't think they're that natural. You get it? So here's something we have to try to implement. You understand why we want to do it. And then we have to handle the objection. And there's a lot of different techniques, and we're going to talk about those. The one that I think, there's two things you have to do here. You want to try to ask questions that lead the client to the desirable result. And you want to use logic. So the answers to the questions have to build on each other. So if we're working with something and I'm asking John, and I ask him a question, and he says like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then I say, well, here's the second question. Does that make sense? Yes. Can I tell you how this one and this one are about the same? Sure, that makes sense. Well, then if that's the case, then doesn't this make sense? You want to build a logical argument while you're handling, and I forget the word argument, but you want to build a logical case while you're handling objections based on the questions you ask and based on logic. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. But first we're going to talk about, well, there's one other thing. What do you need to do once the objection is handled? What's the last thing you need to do? And a step that most people forget. Close, as opposed to what?
Leaving it open.
Leaving it open. And the worst way to leave it open is saying, do you have any other questions? So if Ryan and I, Ryan's hung up on commission, and we fight the whole thing, and we're doing our thing, and we finally, well, Dean, that makes great sense. Excellent. So instead of saying all we need to do now is simply sign the contract so that I can help you get what you want in the time that you want, I might say, great, that's awesome. Any other questions? And then he might say, well, yeah, what about, how long have you been in the business? I never heard of you. And then I do that, and hey, okay, great, and this, and okay, good. Any other questions? Yeah, I only want to give you a one-day listening agreement. Oh, that's not very good. Here we go. And then the next one comes up. So you don't want to say any other questions at the end here. You want to close. So one little side note is, when you're talking about handling objections, even when you role play it, always close at the end. When it's done, always close. And work on your closes. And there's some really simple ones, I like to say really two. So really now, let's do the right thing. That's one that I use all the time. And then another one I use is, do you think that I can sell your home? I've had some people say, no. Not many. But usually what do they say?
Yes.
Yes. And then I use my other one. Well, let's do the right thing and get this on the market. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get it done. And you can develop your own little closing phrases that make you feel good, but use the ones that work. If you use one all the time and it never works, then I'd abandon that one. Okay, so here are the steps. Do they make sense? Okay, you understand? It's really the opposite of what's natural. The natural thing to do here is what?
Be defensive.
Be defensive, not empathetic. And then we say what word?
But.
And then instead of asking questions, I want you to write this down. Ask questions. What do we normally do here? I'll give you an example. Someone give me an objection.
Price.
Well, let's role play. And then I'll do this wrong.
Well, Dean, I don't think my house should be listed anything under $290.
I understand. Tell me why you feel that way.
Well, I put a lot of work into the house, new paint, new roof, new siding, the whole 9 yards. I redid the whole thing myself. And I think I should be paid, the fruits
It
of my
certainly
labor.
looks great. You've done the roof, the siding, and you did all that yourself. That's your, sweat equity right there in the house. Have you enjoyed all those things?
Absolutely.
You have. It's been great. So I can certainly see where you're coming from. And, I'm in real estate. I've been in real estate for 14 years. And I can certainly appreciate all the things that you've done. And in many of the courses that I've taken at Hometown Realty, I've learned different things about pricing. And many of the things I've learned have allowed me to be here today. Ryan, let me further expound on some of the things I've learned about pricing. And so I'm just going to go and go and go. And that's called verbal vomit. Okay, that's just me rambling off at the mouth, hoping that I'll convince you that, we'll do it my way. Is that very effective? No. Versus this. So Ryan, the number you like based on what you've done is what?
$290.
$290. Okay, and it would be great. I would love it if we could get $290. And obviously you would too, right?
Absolutely.
We looked at these comparables. Based on the features and benefits of your house and the ones that we've seen here, what price do you think we'll need to put on your house in order to sell versus this competition?
Well, looking at it, it looks like the house down the street, similar to mine, was $275.
Okay.
But I think I got a couple more,
Right.
amenities that he doesn't have that can bump
And
my.
how about this one?
That was $276.
Okay. And this one has a screen porch.
Mm-hmm.
and this one has the granite countertops, and you don't have either of those, do you?
Did not.
So if you were looking to buy a house, and you are, when you move to Florida, you've looked at houses. If there was one that was about the same as all the other ones, but was priced $20,000 more, would that be the one you'd go after?
Absolutely not.
Do you think that buyers in Richmond sort of have the same idea of value as what you did?
I would assume so. I'm a pretty
So-
intelligent guy.
Do you think, I know that. And why do you think 290, how's 290 going to work here?
Well, Dean, I guess it's not going to.
So what do you think we need to do?
I think we need to lower the price then.
Okay, see, that's the logical argument, you know, with the comparables. Okay, that's just one way to handle that. So that makes better sense, and then we'd obviously close. Yes, John?
In a similar situation, you ever use the mortgage appraisal as a tool?
All the time. See, the thing about me, and what I want you to learn is, you know, we're going to be like in the fight, and we're going to be, and sometimes you're going to knock this one out of my hand. Well, I'm going to whip another one out, like a green one, and then we're going after it there. So the next thing, he's like, he doesn't follow that, right? So it's, you know, it's great. And we'll just pick it up right here. So obviously you're still sort of hung up on 290. Here's the real root of the problem. We might find a buyer that's willing to pay $290 for your house. And that'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would make you happy, wouldn't it? And then we'd start off the plan and you'd be thinking about packing up and all that kind of stuff. And then this little evil and wicked person is going to show up at your house, and his name is the appraiser. And what data does the appraiser use?
The comps you just showed.
These comps right here. So to them, is there any feelings? Is it anything but the hard data? So let's put yourself, now I know you're not an appraiser, but looking at the same data that he's going to look at, where do you think he could come up with $290 for your house? No way. What's the best you think he could do?
275.
So if we sold it at $290 and we got the contract and everything else and he says $275, guess what we have at that point? A problem. The deal. We can't do the deal. Is that what you want?
No.
So let's do the right thing and let's list it at a price that's going to cause it to sell.
I like that. Let's do the right thing.
Let's do the right
That's a
thing.
good response for that one.
Okay. So, now that we're experts and we're almost ready to hand you your lightsabers, what are some of the objections that we're going to hear? I mean, wouldn't it make sense if we knew the objections we heard? Wouldn't it make sense for us to prepare for those? So are we going to hear objections?
Absolutely.
Yes. What are they going to be? I'm trying to come up with 10.
I've heard this like 10 times in the past month. Rates are too high.
Rates are too high.
Yeah, we talked about
Oh my gosh. I guess I am old.
Yeah. What was it, when you bought your first house, John, what was your interest rate?
10.5.
10.5. Mine was 9.9. The banker called me and said, you're not going to believe this. And it was a one-shot deal. The thing just dropped below 10. We got to lock in right now. I'm like, heck yeah. Thought we stole the money from the bank. Now, if you told somebody 10% interest, what would they tell you?
They would pass out.
You're on crack.
it. Good news is there's a new program coming out that you can lock a rate in for an extended period of time before a contract's even written
Yeah.
for a nominal fee that's paid at closing.
Oh, that's good.
So Kenny's world is the rates are too high. You know, when we're working with buyers, what's the same objection that we sort of get?
Price.
Price is too high, maybe. Yeah, commission's too
Price and
high.
commission.
All that's really the same sort of ballpark. Okay, what's another one? What's another one you might get?
You're
We-
brand new, what do you know?
Oh gosh, you are art. You art. You're too new. I've never heard of you. I've never heard of your company. You know, heck, you could. You're too old. You know, whatever. You're too young. You're too short. You know, whatever. Okay. Next.
Something related to bad past experiences with other real estate agents.
Yeah, we hate realtors.
Yeah, you guys don't do what you say you're gonna do.
We hate all realtors. Real appropriate, like in expired listings and for sale by owners. You know, we hate you. Every one of you is terrible.
Right.
Okay?
I got one via email on Monday we're looking to move, but we love the schools our kids currently go to.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's sort of one.
Yeah, that comes back to like we were talking about pre-qualifying. That's like motivation. Well, so you don't like your house, you like the school. You know, I think that needs a whole. That's really not. That's more of like a condition. You know, then we need to move within the school district.
I don't know if you've ever come across this one, but we don't like people coming into our house. They're objecting to the showing process.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to sell it, we just don't want anybody to look at it.
Yeah.
We want to sell it, we don't want a sign. We sure as heck don't want a lockbox. So we don't want a sign, a lockbox, or any traffic. We don't want any pictures on the internet.
Right.
And we need it sold in 30 days. Are you our guy? The best thing to do there, here's the objection handler I would use for that one. I think our, Kenny? All right, so the whole process. Something about the process or the entire process is no good. Price, so we'll just use the one. Price too low, here's another one. The other agent said we could get more money. Our neighbor told me that we should be able to get more money. What does your neighbor do? They're an astronaut. That qualifies them.
Yeah, things look different from that house, too.
What if they don't want to put money into making the house presentable?
Sort of the process, like we don't want to stage it, we don't want to do all this other stuff.
I know one, and you can fill in the blank. Before I do anything, I have to talk to blank. My mom,
Okay.
my friend, my boss, my pastor.
Similar to this.
Kind of.
Yeah.
A little more personal, maybe.
Remember that one. What's the best way? What's the best way? In some cases, you can handle some of these in advance by doing what? Like this one especially, pre-qualifying them. So, you know, if when you're talking to somebody before you set the appointment, one of those questions. What questions do we want to ask?
Who's making the decision?
Who's involved with the decision? Anybody other than you and your wife? Well, our pastor. Well, that's great. Would you know, Jesse Jackson be willing to be there tonight via satellite?
Or if it comes up, can we give him a call right now?
Exactly. You know, so prefacing that and trying to eliminate as many as you can before you even get there is good. Okay, anything else? Any other ones? How about, here's one you hear sometimes. We don't want to list until we have found one that we want to buy. When I started with Hometown in 1995, there were only 10 agents or 12 agents, and one of the things we used to get all the time was, we've never heard of Hometown. That's a good one. You don't have to worry about that now because most people have heard of it. But sometimes you hear like, well, you know, we don't see you in the neighborhood. We don't see Hometown in our neighborhood as much. You know, your office is here and we are here. So that's a popular one. So we'll use that one. So we'll just call that a location objection. Okay, so that's a pretty good list. We have 10. So here's my advice. I would start with these 10, and actually in your workbook we have 40 that we've identified and sort of tried to write some kind of handler for, in some cases more than one. And then you might want to ask around to some of the agents in the office, what objections do you hear most commonly? What are the 3 most common objections that you hear? I'm going to tell you a little secret. Once you master this, once you become the Jedi of handling this, do they come up more frequently or less frequently? Less. I mean, it stinks. I'm ready. I mean, I've got all my lightsabers, you know, brass knuckles. I got it all when I go on the appointment, and usually I don't really get any of these.
I think what happens is you get so used to handling them that you handle them in advance without even being conscious you're doing it.
And people can see it. It's like, you know, you see like a guy wearing a gun, you know, you're cool. I mean, I like walking on the appointment sometimes, like, they see all my blades, They're like, hey, we're cool. We're good. We're ready to sign. Not really. Okay, so this is like, okay, we have a couple former lacrosse players, Kenny. So let's say that back in the day at Salisbury, when you guys were playing lax at Salisbury, you know, you're like going on an away game and you're getting ready to play, who was the big rivalry for Salisbury? Gettysburg, the Bullets, okay? And you're like going up there to Gettysburg, and all of a sudden you see Coach Jancic, pretty good knowledge of what's going on, okay? Hank Jancic is driving out of the parking lot, and all of a sudden, you know, like he closes the door, he's like, all right, guys, see you, and he drives off, and all of a sudden something falls out of his car. You pick it up. Gettysburg Bullet Playbook versus Salisbury. It's got all their strategies and everything else. Would that be valuable information for the Seagulls?
Yes, it would be.
What would you do?
Use it to our advantage.
Why wouldn't you just throw it away? You'd want to use it to, how would you use it to your advantage?
We know the strengths and weaknesses of what they're going to do with it.
And so you would then do what? Prepare for that.
Yes.
Counter, yeah.
You'd be ready to, you know, okay, oh, they run this guy behind the goal and they're going to do this. Then you'd set up a defense to do that. And we look at their defense and you say, hey, this offense will attack this effectively. Here are the plays. Here they are. So what we can do is be like every other agent in America. Ignore this. We don't need to worry about that. Go to other real estate companies and ask them, how many classes, do y'all teach a class on objection handling? And the answer will be
No.
no. Why? Because we don't want it. It's like the dirty little secret in real estate. We don't want to talk about it. Okay? Again, if you can't handle this, if you're scared to death of these, how likely are you going to be to want to throw your hat in the ring every day?
Not like that.
You're not. It's human nature. People don't like to get their teeth kicked in. You know, if I can't fight, I don't go around starting fights. You know, if I can't speak Spanish, I don't get in a whole lot of conversations with Spanish people. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Same thing. So if I can't handle these, then in essence, I'm out of the business because they will come up. Now, your grandmother's not going to object to you, but how many grandmothers do you have? I mean, the thing is, a lot of people don't worry about this, and they sell one house a year to people that love them and care for them, and in spite of themselves, are going to list with them or buy a house with them. If that's the kind of business you want to run, then ignore this. But if not, you need to work on this. So, I would write those down, and I would come up with 3 objection handlers, and I would role play them over and over. Wait a minute, role play's not cool. Either's being poor. Okay. So, let's talk about some strategies that are out there that can work. Some are more appropriate to some objections. We didn't even write the commission cutting one, but that's the biggest one. So there was a gal who her name was Christy Burton, and she started here at age 20. And really a great salesperson. In fact, such a great salesperson that she's now married to a heart surgeon and doesn't have to sell real estate anymore. You know, so obviously she's able to sell things. Her own personality to the heart surgeon, now she's living the good life. And a great salesperson she was, and I went on an appointment with her one time. And the objection came up, well, you know, she's sort of a really low-key, friendly, well, I wouldn't say low-key, but really casual and friendly person. And this is one of her friends, and she's like, well, you know, Christy, we are friends, and, you know, the money's tight and everything, and you know, they always preface it with this sob story, and, you know, gosh, and we just came back from a trip around the world, so we're really light on money, and, you know, and the new Lexus, and you know, would you be willing to cut your commission? And I'd never heard this one before, but, and again, it probably wouldn't work with me, but for her it worked great. Christy's like, oh, come on, you know we just can't do that. Let's just go ahead and get this going. And I mean, because it was her, that sort of worked. And they just, you know, but I think if I tried that, that might not be my thing. So realize we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we can use some non-traditional handling if it works for you. Now, if you try that 6 or 7 times and every time they call the police and throw you out of the house, I would maybe go with a different strategy. One that I like is called a level shift, and Kenny brought this up earlier. This is like a Jedi, more Star Wars stuff, Jedi mind trick, okay? And this is really good for people that are new in the business. Now, if you're new in the business, it may come up. Somebody might ask you a question, how long have you been selling real estate? They might say, you're too new, we want somebody who's more experienced, something like that. It might come up. Now, I argue that if you know this, and you're skilled, and you're confident, and you dress the part, and you look the part, people will assume you are the part. You know, I used the example the other day. I mean, you go to the doctor, it's amazing what somebody in a lab coat with a stethoscope and a, you know, fairly confident demeanor, what they can make you do. I mean, like if some dude in blue jeans and like a t-shirt came in and started putting on a rubber glove, are you going to participate in what's getting ready to happen? Probably not. Same in real estate. I mean, the real estate transaction is usually the biggest financial transaction of somebody's life. Okay, and they're looking to us to take care of that. You know, so if they don't feel good about you, they got plenty of other choices, right? So part of this whole thing is you have to look, act, talk, walk, sound, dress, behave like a powerful, professional salesperson, and then people will think you are, even if it's your first day. Do you agree with that? So, you know, not having that fear, not having those doubts, not having anything but self-confidence is going to be advantageous here. So the level shift. So you're new in the business. So what could you say? What points can you make? Not in a role play situation, but let's think of what are some points that you can make? What are the advantages of going with somebody who's new?
Energetic.
Okay.
Hungry.
Hungry. That can be an advantage or a disadvantage.
Available.
Available. How about up to date on all the new stuff, like the technology and you know. You think about, you know, some, like with doctors, you think about somebody who went to medical school in 1959, I mean, it's a whole new ball game. You know, I'm not so sure I want somebody who just finished it, but, you know, maybe something where, you know, somebody who knows a little bit about, you know, some of the modern stuff. Same with real estate. I mean, even when I started, there was no computer. We had the MLS book, you know, so it's a different ball game. It's a totally different ball game. Social media marketing. You know, internet marketing, even just the regular MLS and all the different stuff that can be done with that. The ease of using Authenticent, all that. A lot of people just don't know how to do that. They're too old for that. You guys are right out of real estate school, ready to go.
It's like yesterday, Kevin Long showed some big homes to a client, and he took a picture and posted on Facebook. Just took him a second, and I mean, he got like 35 likes. I mean, just it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just shows people what you do. So you see it out there because people are on Facebook literally every single day. So even if they're not looking for a home, they see Kevin or Ben or whoever it is, Jess, Ryan. Okay, well, I know somebody. So
exactly. So there's some things that you guys have that people like me don't have. Okay, is that usually enough? Can we just talk about that? Is that enough to convince somebody?
No.
So you don't have any idea what you're doing, but you are energetic and you're desperate and that's probably not going to get it done. So going off on this soliloquy of how great you are because you're brand new is probably not going to get it done. Okay? You're not very strong in that position. If all we're talking about is you being new, is that a position of strength? No. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to get out of that. We have to shift the level of the conversation to something else that's going to make you strong. And we want to try to shift it to where those things we just talked about. Versus the experienced agent, we don't want to stay on the same level with experience means knowledge, experience means experience means being able to handle things well. We want to equate new with aggressive and active, and we want to equate experience with passive and, you know, old school, you know, out of date, expired. You get that? So what I might say to Kenny says, you're too new. I said, you know, obviously this is a big transaction for you, isn't it, Kenny? Mm-hmm. Buying a house. I mean, this is probably one of the largest financial decisions you're going to make, isn't it?
Yep.
And obviously in selling your house, is, you know, you're looking for somebody to do both of those things. You're looking for the right person, aren't you? It's important. So let me ask you this. Are you looking for an active agent, or are you looking for a passive agent?
I'm looking for an active agent.
And what does an active agent do?
An active agent answers the phone when I call them. An active agent keeps me updated on what's going on, how the market is, and maybe gives me some advice on stuff I could be doing to get my house ready.
Right. And then they're going to get out there and they're going to do it for you. They're going to take the time to work on selling your property. Do you really care how many other properties they sell while yours is on the market?
No.
Does that have any benefit to you?
No.
You know, I am that active agent, Kenny. I have the time. You know, I have the desire. You know, I want to do this and do it right so that you refer me to everybody you meet. If I do that for you, would you be willing to do that for me? As opposed to one of these, you know, passive, experienced agents. You know, if I've got 20 other listings, how much time can I spend with you?
Not that much, not as much as I'd like.
What if your house doesn't sell? I've got 20 other ones and I've got 15 pending listings that are getting ready to close. How important is this deal to me versus my situation?
Not very.
Is that the kind of agent you want working for you?
No.
No, it's not. You want somebody who's on your team, that you're going to get the attention out of. You said it. You want somebody who, when you call, the phone's picked up. I can promise you that. So let's do the right thing. Let's take an aggressive approach, not a passive approach with one of these has-beens. Let's go ahead and get the right thing done here and get it on the market today. Does that sound like again, we're not in a position of power to begin with, okay? So you have to sort of throw the Hail Mary and try to just move their whole mindset out of this new thing and equate new. What is new equated with now?
Active.
Active. And what is experience equated with?
Passive.
Passive. So you went from new is bad to now new is
Active.
good, and experience was good, and now experience is bad. You get that? And if you can bring somebody along with that, then it's great. If you can't, well, you probably weren't going to get the thing anyway.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's one way. The level shift. Okay? It works a lot of different ways. Okay, here's another little technique. Has there ever been a time? Okay? So I want to take you to a place in your life, in your history, that didn't work out too good and make you think that this is like that. So we want to change the behavior in order so that you can avoid bad things happening. All right? This one works usually a lot of times where we're thinking about selling ourselves. Okay, so somebody, let's roll. Where's Jess? Your role play. So Jess, you're going to tell me that everything sounds great, but you're thinking about selling it yourself. You think we want to give it a shot. So say that.
You know, this whole thing sounds great, but I really think I want to sell it myself.
Okay, so you want to take a shot at selling your house yourself, and tell me about that. What's special about that for you?
Well, you know, I was a communications major in college, so I feel like I can market it totally myself. I feel like I have the skills to do that. So
Sure.
I don't really see the need for a real estate agent.
Right, and a lot of people feel that way, and you know, you might be able to do it yourself. And has there ever been a time in your life where you've thought you could do something yourself, you went out and you bought something, maybe you put it together yourself, anything like, has there been a time like that in your life where you did that and it maybe didn't turn out to be as rosy of an end?
An IKEA bed frame, actually.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, you know, you buy an IKEA bed frame, you think it's so simple.
And it's a good deal too, you save a lot of money.
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, it's gorgeous, pictures look great, bring it home. It says it's so simple to do. The guy at the store was talking my ear off about it. Took it home, everything's in Swedish. So I didn't have
How's your Swedish?
It's not good.
Not mine either.
So, you know, I tried to do it myself. didn't know which end went where, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it looked simple, but everybody, you know, from the outside in, it looked really simple.
Sure
and so
did.
it wound up costing you a lot of time, and probably more. How'd you wind up getting it together, or did you just throw it away?
Oh no, I had to take it back to the store, ask the guy, you know, got it all figured out. But
And, you know, can you see that this time is sort of like that? You know, from the outside in, this looks very simple. And it's not. It's not. You know, there's a reason that I've sold over 1,000 homes when the average agent only sells 2 a year. Because a lot of those people thought it was going to be easy too. You know, do you want to get the most money for your house?
absolutely,
You want to get it sold in the right amount of time so you can get to Florida.
yes.
So let's do the right thing and list with a professional so you don't have to take it back to the store and waste all that time. It's September 26th. When did you say you had to be in Florida?
I need to be there by December 1st.
It's amazing the power you can have with some words to, if you draw out what's going on. My favorite, if anybody can ever talk about putting together a gas grill or a bike, I feel like I've got the landing gear is coming down. We're taking this one home. I use this one all the time, okay? Because everyone has had a miserable experience in something like this. Has everybody here had something like that? You guys had something like that where you try to do something yourself and it just did not work out?
And my wife is usually right there when that happens.
Yeah, and then you got to hear it from her. And sometimes that's the way it is in a real estate situation. The wife or one of the couple is saying, "Shut up, John, just do it." "No, I think we want to try it ourselves." And then that's a case where you want to sort of you want to have a new ally, and you and the wife are like, "He is so dumb." What happened last time we did that? "Oh my God, this and that," and we were driving to the beach and the wheel fell off the car, and you know. So that's another good one. Okay, you like that one?
I do.
Do you have, in the examples I've given, can you see how I have asked questions? Yes or no?
Yes.
What does that do versus making statements?
I think it makes the person you're talking to feel like it's their idea rather than you forcing something on them.
And does that make you feel better or worse than me forcing it on you?
Definitely better.
The only thing I would add to that is to be careful that your questions don't come off like an interrogation, because that will put them on the defensive.
Did my question sound like interrogation?
Not at all.
No one wants to be interrogated. That's on a side note, that's a problem with the scripts in new agents is, when do you plan on moving? And before they answer that one, how long have you lived at this address? You're so excited to ask the questions that you don't even hear that. It doesn't matter whether they're talking or not. Yeah, no one wants to be interrogated. So you have to make it sound conversational. But in objection handling, bring out their feelings, empathize with their feelings, and lead them based on logic to a place that they really want to go. In real estate, as a real estate salesperson, are we ever going to ask you to sell a house to somebody who doesn't want to buy a house? No. Are you ever going to be able to convince somebody to list their house if they don't want to list it? Of course not. That's not the business we're in. We're trying to find people that do have motivation, that really should be doing things and should be working with us because we're going to take good care of them. So it's not like we're swindling. We're not trying to use magical techniques to sell them something that they don't really need. I mean, we're not selling like water purifiers or something that, maybe people need that. But I mean, it's not some kind of gimmick here. If Ryan wants to move and Ryan needs to go to Florida, I got to go in there thinking, you know what, I'm the best guy for the job. And we need to come out of this meeting with him understanding that. And it's my job. He had me over for a reason. I use that as a close too. John, you had me over for a reason tonight, didn't you? What was that reason?
I got to sell my house.
That's right. Do you feel like I can get the job done?
I do now.
Let's go ahead and get it done. So, I mean, they had you there for a reason. You're in the business for a reason. Put those two reasons together and get a result. That's the gist of it.